Well, hello, everybody. I thought I would come back and go back over all the changes that we've done to this project, TCI inspections, get you up to date, and go over the website and what we did on the website, so that way you kind of get all caught up of our somewhat changes that we've had to do. This has been now running on site through beta since the first of the month, and they've got well over a couple of hundred inspections that have gone through completely. When we go to the website, I'll show you how that looks. From our standpoint on the Android application, we had to add two other fields on here where you can see his driver and company. And those two fields allows them to put in who the driver is and the company if it's not their own that is currently doing it, because they do transfers from Mexico into the United States. So we do that. And the only other thing that we've added was we added an additional page in order for them to put notes in case there was damage. And I'm going to get to that page and you'll see it. All it is a big note field. That's all it is. Allows them to type in whatever notes they want to put with the inspection and send it on. Now, the question is how did all this end up where it needed to be ended up? It's the great thing about the inspections and great thing about utilizing the class methodology from the mobile to the desktop. In the mobile class, the only thing we did is we have that inspection structure, if you remember right from an earlier version. All I had to do was add the three fields to it. So down here at the bottom, you can see the driver name, the company name, and the note. I'm done. It's finished because it automatically, in the mobile class, takes that as a JSON and sends it off to ACD inspections on the web server side, if you remember right. So from a updated standpoint on TCI inspections Android system, and this works the same on iOS, is all you need to do is add those 2-3 fields or however many changes of fields that you have up there on the structure, and then send it off. Now, the real work comes in on the web service side. That's where the RESTful service is going to have to update the database and move everything in. So obviously, we went through all of that. But overall, this is the only changes that we've done particularly to this unit. The other thing that we've done on this, and let me jump to those screens and we'll kind of show you what happens. Need to get to window. There we go. Planes. And I'll go back here. Okay. The CT pad inspection, what he wanted to make sure is that they actually chose a pass or fail for every one of those as it went through the process before you could go to the next page. So what you have to do is, if you got a combination like this, is you can go into code and before each one of them, just set it to blank. So every one of those, as you can see, is tractor bumper, tractor engine, every one of them set to blank. At the end of the process, when they're stepping through this, in the code, we look for what pages we're on, and if we have to, we take a look at that point and set the next divisible equal false, or we turn it back to true. And this is how it works. So we go to CT Pat. You notice there's no next button up here to work with until I choose every one of these. Once I've chosen every one of these, boom, there it shows up. And I go to the next one, it disappears again, and we go through the same process. Once it's all chosen, if they miss one, it won't let them go any further until all of them are done. And then you get your next button again. That's the way it works. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, okay? So that's the couple, two, three things we've done on the on the mobile side of this. Now on the web service side, we had to obviously get those additional fields in the analysis. So because of it being SQL, I only put in the analysis side fields at the bottom of the structure. This allows me to go ahead and put the fields at the bottom of the structure, and I don't have to worry about a version that's already in production to bother it. Because as with anything, it goes down to whatever the last one is, and it don't care any further. If you put one somewhere in the middle up here, well, then it's going to say, hey, your structure doesn't match, and you got a problem. Well, putting them at the bottom, it's going top to bottom and says, yes, they match, and go on. Everything is moving. Everything's cool. Okay, so that was done. And to be honest with you, I didn't have to do anything in the RESTful procedure for ACD inspections. Oh, I did forget one thing I wanted to show you. Okay, so right at the moment, this is pretty straightforward. I got an ACD inspection. I come in there, I save the record, and then I run a report called Manager Inspections and email it. And what that does is creates a nice little quick email that says, here's your link to the inspection. Click here, and you can go look at the inspection online. We'll go through that in a minute, but I want to go back just for a second on the Android, because I did one extra thing on it. One of the problems in the mobile class is that we're not quite sure when the images are done, to be honest with you. We're just not sure of it at all. So the question is that what we need to do then is when we do the inspection and send it, we've got two steps we go through. We send it on ACD inspection, then we send up all of the images, okay? And we process every one of the images. If you remember, we do that. I wrote one more procedure called check damage. That check damage, all it does is send the claim ID I got back from the insert. This is part of the deal about inserting and returning back the record to me, so that way I know what the ID is of the inspection I just entered, okay? So I do that, and I call check claim in the RESTful, and all it does is print the report and send a PDF file to everybody. Okay, so both of those are kind of done. We're good to go. Now, back on the RESTful procedures to finish that up. We're obviously using mobile class and different things like this, and there's a couple little deals that we need to kind of go over. If I'm sending a report in SMT or something like this is basically what I'm doing is I put up an inspection, such and such name has been completed. Here's the link to the inspection if they need to see it. And I put that into a body text that's HTML, so that way I can put the URL there with review inspection as a link, and the same thing as the entire URL to cut and paste if they need to. If you're using, as a straightforward thing, just to kind of let you know, I'm using Gmail to send this stuff. So it's coming from my account in Gmail. The thing about it is that there's a couple little tricks to get Gmail to look at it. One is in your Gmail account, you have to set it up to where it allows third-party access. Once you have the third party is fine. The second thing is right here with line 29. If you're setting up your email, you need to do an email configure, email parameter mode, comma 1. Putting those two things together, you'll be able to send anything you want through Gmail to anybody you need to send it to, and you'll be fine. Okay? And you're going to see that I've got two ways to do it. This is a single, so you see I got number one recipient, and it goes to their inspections. We're off and done and finished. Now, when I send the report, that goes to multiple places. So instead of just doing the email as it is, I set up S-email is email. So I set the structure up there, and then I have an attachment is email attachment. As I do this, I got the sender address, I've got the sender inspection, and then I can do an add to the email recipient, my name, add for claims both, and then if I've got a failure on CTPAT or the trailer failure, this is for the CTPAT on both the tractor and trailer, I will add 3 additional email addresses to this. This is a little bit easier to do if you do the S as email, because you don't have to do the number of recipients. It automatically counts that and you don't have to worry about it. Same thing with the attach. We set up the attach. What we're doing, this is the report that I have. I tell it it's a content type of application PDF. You can put a description of PDF doc. It doesn't matter. And you add that to the S email attachment right there. Put your body text in there. Remember your email configure mode. Set your server. Remember the port for that would be 587 on your email session, and kick it off and send the email. You're done. You're off and running. And this works great. I can send you a bunch of the emails if you want them. If you need some example of this code, I'll be glad to. Of course, I'll have to take out the email addresses and a few things, because we certainly don't want you sending an email to TCI. But I'll gladly give you an example of the way this looks and how it works and things like this, and you'll be able to do your own Gmail from there. Just let me know. Okay, so that kind of takes care of those, and where they come from is 2 things. One, in the inspection class, on the web service, I'm sorry, we're in the web services. In the ACD inspections, we come down, and this is where we look to email the report. Now, all this does here is email that send SMTP, so that way you have the link and you're off and running. I am passing the inspection, the entire inspection, to it. That allows me to use any field in that class to put into the messages I want. If there is inspection damage, that's when I opt to send the claim to do exactly the same thing. What it does is it sends a link to claims and allows you to have that same email with the link. Now, you're asking, well, why don't I just send the whole report at this time? I don't know at this point whether or not that all the images have been uploaded at this time. That's the reason why I put that check for damage in the mobile instead, because it knows from 1, 2, 3 down the line, it has processed the inspection, it has processed the images. When it's done with both of those, boom, I can send the report. We're good. So there's a check claim here where I'm sending in the ID. I've got it all set up for it, and I set up the email. I print the report, send the report name to the send report, which we get back the code I just showed you where I went through. We extract the path, we load the buffer to the content, we tell it what it is, and you're off and running. Okay? Pretty simple. That's all the changes done for the web service. Obviously, on the web service in the inspection class, we did add those fields as well. Down here at the bottom, we've got the driver. We've got the note. We've got the company name and the driver name both, so we're fine with all that, and that's the reason why it gets in the database like it's supposed to. So now let's head over to the website. Let's start working on seeing what we got on the website. Now, this is a fairly rudimentary website. It's used internally, so I'm not entirely worried about having, things on the outside taking a look at this, taking a look at that. But let's go over the couple of things that need to be discussed. Okay? What I've done here is used two different functionality. I've got a table on the screen which shows the ID, the inspection person, site, tractor, trailer number, date, whether they did a CT-PAT inspection, tractor inspection, and trailer inspection, and if there's damage, or a CT-PAT failure, it will show in that damage column. And I'm going to show you how we do this. And then we're going to go through the detail. I give them the last 30 days, last week, this month, this week, today, and yesterday as the options to search by. They can actually put in an inspection ID if they want to. They can put in a tractor number if they want to, which will show them all the inspections for that tractor number. They can put in the trailer number, and it'll show them all the inspections for that trailer number. They can find all of them dealing with damage and things like this. This one is inbound or outbound, and I got another filter here, and then I've got an email report. What that does there is if I bring up a certain one and I want to print the inspection, if I put my email address in here, it bypasses all of the normal emails and just sends the report to me alone. Or I can put in somebody else's that needs to send it to them. That way, claims and the other ones don't necessarily get the report every time and get inundated with extra emails that they've already seen, which takes their time off from what they're supposed to be doing and things like this. Okay, so all this is there, and I'll show it to you here on the page itself, and that's what this is. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you. Come on, I want to go down. There we go. That's what I want to see. All right. So what I've done right there is I just clicked yesterday and hit the search button, and I get everything from yesterday. If I want to look at today's, I click that, and it will, well, I got to restart it. I took too much time. Let me do this. I got to put the timer in it. Okay, so if I pick today and do a search, it's only going to give me the inspections for today. And you can see right here we have 2 damages right now. 2 damage done to equipment that they'll need to look at, that the claims department will need to look at. Okay, the top one without a tractor trailer, that's my test run. So we can look at this by just saying, okay, show me the inspection. And what I've done over here is this is actually utilizing the planes functionality for each one of these screens here. You can see I've got all the pictures here of where the possible problems. They've taken a picture of this side of the tractor, that side of the tractor. There's the damage. Okay, let me move this to the left and you can see it a little bit better. Okay, and whatever damage they have. I can also click on the image itself and get a full screen image of it, so we can, they can have a better eye of seeing where the damage is on the trailer that they'll have to deal with. Okay, so it allows them, all it does is open up a new tab with it, and I'm going to show you the code to do all that. The inspection is here. We can hit the next button. All of those passed. All of those passed. Okay, we got that right there. Keep going. It's a van. There's, you can see frame and body damage. And that's what this is showing. Pretty simple. Pretty simple entirely. Searching, like I said, you can do many different types of search. I can do a from and a to get a date. I can put in a particular tractor. So let's look up this tractor 884. Okay, and let's see whether or not that we've got anything in 884. Well, we've inspected this twice, but this inspection previously done on 10/2 did not have any damage. Since that didn't have any damage, that means that damage was done on the trip that it made on ID 216, and then when it got repicked up or brought back in for ID 486, you saw the damage. This allows them to track the damage and know who they're going to do whatever charges they're going to do. Okay? Now, the other thing is, and I'll show you the link on this, I got this email for damage on 487. This is the 487 is the one I want. If I want to look for this and I click review inspection, this is what they do. You'll notice I don't have any of the search criteria anymore. Okay? Well, they're just going straight to that one. How do you do that? I'm going to show you exactly how we do that. And it'll help you kind of understand how you can basically use the same website for either or, a direct link or search and find. As you can see, we've got the image here. If I flip that, you can see the image and you can see the scratches and stuff right here that they've got on there and the scratch down here, which is what they're looking at for damage. Okay? And it goes through and everything works the same because basically this area here is the same as this area here. They're both an internal detail page that is using the planes to pop through each section of the email. Okay? So let's get see frame and body damage. Now this is 487, so let's go back here on the search. Okay? And we're going to eliminate this and we're going to put in the inspection ID is 487. And we'll do a search, let them highlight that and show the inspection. Now you're seeing the same inspection here. That's the exact same inspection for both. Okay? They can print a summary report, which gives them a full report dealing with each of the inspections done, which I put a link on there for. The log report's the same. The inspection is for an individual inspection. So we're going to go through each one of those based upon the classes, how we're using the classes, and show you what code is necessary, not to mention how easy it is. Okay? Especially using classes without having to jump through hoops because you're doing different things. And let me give you a key aspect of that. I'm going to move this out the way. One of the deals I did for the device, let me go back to that page. Okay? Is each one of these, if you look at the description of it, I am actually returning pass or fail, not 1 or 2. I'm telling it that I want to see the pass, I want to see the fail, because that's what I'm going to store in the database. Your problem is the website has no knowledge to look at that. So we're going to look at the page inspection detail. This is an internal window thing, and you can see my images are there. And we're going to go down the images. But if we look at that same choice here and look at content, you'll see there's absolutely nothing in there to say return pass or fail. Now, granted, they don't edit this, but that also means when I assign from the database pass to this or fail to this, if I assign fail to this, it'll always show up as pass because it goes by 1 or 2. So how do you solve the problem? You can either go rewrite everything on the mobile side and tell it to send back a 1 or 2, but then if you're looking in the database for certain things, you got, you know, it's kind of a difficult thing to do. It really is. So what we do in the classes is we utilize properties to handle this. If you notice here, all of these P arrived, departed, CTPs, PCPATs, every one of these P over here for every one of them is doing one thing and one thing only. If the area is damaged, which is what I return, then result equals 2, otherwise result equals 1. You're looking at any one of these, it's going to be the same way. If it equals damaged, return a 2, otherwise return a 1. That's all I'm doing. So what happens now is in the inspection detail, when I look at this and I link it to the particular field, tractor bumper, it's going to return a 1 or 2 depending upon which one is true, and this comes out correctly. Okay? You know, other than you writing a load of code in a routine to look at this every time, this becomes the easiest way to handle it. Just create a bunch of properties and tell it to return what you need to return, and you're done. It's as simple as that. Gives you a lot of flexibility in the classes because of members and properties and things like this that you can deal with. We got all the fields. We run through all of the different results based upon whether or not, you know, what's happening, okay? And then down here at the bottom, we get into the normal images. I've got to check for images to make sure they're there. Here's the thing about this. Now, due to the classes, what I want to have is the images come down at the same time I finish a class, okay? And how do you do that? Well, what we do is we have a class called Inspection Image Manager. The Inspection Image Manager is a child set of records dealing with that inspection, which holds all the images and what fields they're attached to. So I know for this field, for this type, it's this one. So frame and body gets frame and body. So we just call it Child Inspection Image. Once we got the Child Inspection Image, we're going to do the fetch children. Every time we get the record, and what that'll do is say, okay, go get me all the images for that, and then I go through and based upon them printing or otherwise, I will load from the Amazon S3 the download and display the image, and I'll show you that code too before we're done with this. But it'll show you exactly how to make that work as well, okay? So, once I have all the image records down, now this is the image records, that is quick, 4 or 5 records, 10 records is quick, it's done, and it's part of this entire thing. So when they look for one here in the table, if you go into the code here, I'm checking to see if the record are empty, or the table's empty. If it's not, and we actually selected one, because if we didn't select one, we don't want to do anything, otherwise you'll get a blow up on the screen. And once we do that, the TableRec is then assigned to the rec inspection. The TableRec is also set up to return that information. So if we look at content of this, we're telling we're going to use the manager inspections array, and we're going to return the array rec, the top one, not one field, but the entire thing. That allows it to return the entire record to us. And based upon that entire record, we have the ability to fill in this rec inspection. Once that inspection is there, every one of these buttons, I'm sorry, let me hit this one. Every one of these buttons work off of that. So if I do a show inspection, what is it doing? It's changing the source window for the internal page to a blank because I need to reset it. And then I reset the internal page again to the IW inspection detail, which we just went through, which is that screen there, okay? And what it does is then it will set the init on the inspection, and if we go into there, you see what I'm doing is I'm passing the inspection that I have in, and I'm assigning it to that page's record of the inspection, telling it to inspect the children at that point in time and go on. Now, the source to page, since I've linked every one of those fields, when you do a source to page, they're all displayed, everything's fine. Now, granted, again, there's no editing on this. This is all display information. The only thing that actually gets edited is, you know, on the Android device. So, you know, it's a little bit less I'm doing than what you normally do. But let's go over the load images. Here's what happens. The load images, what it does is it gives me a buffer, it gives me a local image name, and I delete everything from the loop images, okay? And that looper is, I'm sorry, this right here, where we have these images right here that I built. At that point in time, for every one of the child inspection images array, I'm going to get the local image name, which I've got set here, and I'm going to have my Amazon S3 go ahead and get the file and return it to me. And what it does is it downloads locally, basically the image file. It puts it on the screen there, on the server, and then I can load that buffer into the buffer and add the line to the looper, and I'm done. The reason why I have this LREC image is pretty simple. That's how, when you click it, it will open up a whole new page, and let me show you how that works. If I go into the clickable image, into the code, I do a browser open, I set the path to the Amazon AWS S3, and I attach the name to it, which is that last field I added. Now it opens up the new browser with a whole new image, and it all looks nice and pretty, and I don't have to download it twice. Okay? If you're going to do that with Amazon S3, you got to make sure that you make your folder public. Otherwise, it'll always give you an error. So make sure you make the entire folder public in order to make that work, and it will work just beautifully. Okay. To enable planes on your system, if you go to the Details tab of any screen or area, I forgot what, you'll be able to tell it to enable the management of planes, and then you're off and running. And that'll give you the multiple planes you can go through. As you can see, you can go through every one of them, rock and roll. Last thing to tell you or talk to you about is how do we move from one to the other? How do we move from the search directly to the inspection by itself? That's all done here. At the beginning of this page, I really don't need this, I check to see if there's a page parameter called ID, which is what I'm sending. If you look at the link, what does the link have on there? The link has ID equals 487. So I'm looking for that link number right there. When I get that parameter, if there is one, there'll be a 487 there, and when I do, I just tell it to display the other page instead. And all the page direct does is it's just an empty one with a print inspection, and it's got the internal layout of that inspection, you know, just like the other page. It just doesn't have any of the search criteria. Rock and roll. We're done. And that does exactly the same thing. Comes in here, does the init, does everything the show inspection button does. Okay? I do put a different texting area up there so I can put more information on it so you can see the whole thing. Everything kind of works that way, and you're off and running. It's pretty simple. Okay? Total lines of code in this project through all three pieces is, including the classes, 6,815 lines. Now, a lot of that's already pre-done. Okay? We can already tell that. So there's not a whole lot to worry about on there. I don't need those two. And in fact, in the pages, there's a whole lot less code. Most of the code is in the classes. And most of it is just resetting up all these parameters and properties and stuff like that. But I can use that on both the web service as well as the web page, and they work fine together. Okay? If there's any questions on this, feel free to holler. I'll be glad to go back over any piece of it, send you code snippets and everything. I'm training them on the website in the morning, and that'll be, and unless they need changes later on, that'll be a done deal for this project. Off and running, and basically got the whole thing developed with changes and everything in approximately 14 days or so. 14, 15 days. And we were done with it. And that's not full time. So it's not a large project, but it is a smaller one, but fits nicely for what they want to do. And now they're talking about doing some other things with their with the security and safety and things like this. So it'll be fun. there'll be more things to build. And we'll go through this again with whatever we built for them. Okay. Next thing I'm going to go through, and I will probably do it this afternoon, so you'll get 2 videos today, is a logging of changes in your code. So that way you have a trigger that logs the previous version of the record when the new record is committed, in case you have to go backwards and see what the previous versions are. We'll take you through that next. Thanks for joining me. Have fun, enjoy, be good or be good at it.